But I do want, I know we're not, this is not going to be an NLP training but I do want to know if you can talk about like maybe one specific activity or, technique that you do with NLP that like someone could relate to, so they know like, okay, this guy, because I think anyone listening to what you just said is nodding, because I'm sitting here nodding. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, especially I do training and other things. So like for me, it's like, I get it. I totally get it. I get it. Like, this is how I used to look, but I had to train past a certain point to make this muscle look a certain different way. And so it's the same type of thing with the brain, but like but I think I'd be fascinated to hear like, maybe one or two techniques that are part of that.
Sure. And anything, it's, I suppose a real powerful one is, we can teach you pattern interrupts and state changes and something we might go into, but I just want to give something so applicable that everyone can really start looking around their life and their world right now and start to make changes. Because when we become aware of a pattern, then we can change it. If we're not aware of something, then it becomes very difficult to change it, right? But one of the key things that I really believe has changed my life through using NLP specifically is the concept of anchoring. Now, most people have heard of that term before. What does it really mean? It goes back to Pavlov's dog experiments, right? If you've ever heard of that, right? I'm sure most people have. That's anchoring,
Ringing
right?
the bell.
Yeah, you got it. Tuning fork, dog food, dog. Put the tuning fork and the dog food down enough times, the dog would salivate. Take the food away, ring the tuning fork, the dog would salivate. Right, he's onto something. I like to update it and make it more cool, right? You ever heard the tune and it takes you right back to 4 o'clock in the morning in a nightclub?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've been there.
We've all been there, man. That's anchoring, right? That's anchoring. That could be a good or bad experience, but it takes you to that place. When you start to understand everything in your life, internally and externally, is an anchor or a trigger. Now, a trigger sounds negative, but a trigger could be also positive. But when we understand that everything in our life is an anchor, we have to really start paying attention to what this is. So, for example, I can talk about states, but most people are aware of what a peak state is or an alter ego these days. It's a version of you. It's imagine a bubble, right? A bubble of neurology or software that makes you see the world a certain way. Quick example, a professional fighter sees the world very differently when they're stepping into a ring or a cage than when he's going on a date or he's talking to his mum.
Hopefully.
Yeah, right. I hope so too, man. Or
yeah.
we need to have a chat with
he's
him.
He's really screwed.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. But when we start to understand those are muscles, those are neurology, those are literally hats that we change, roles that we play, perspectives, right? That's a state or a peak state or an alter ego, right? So very quick explanation. So, for example, here's a classic one that people need to stop immediately. Immediately, they need to become aware of this today, because this is one of the key things that damages an entrepreneur or their family and relationship. So often, right, we're in business mode, business hat, we're seeing business things, right? And we're around business people. So what happens often are brain waves, nice and high. It's actually called high beta. High beta means that we are in anxiety or stress. Beta is what we bounce around in all day. Then we access the unconscious mind into alpha, theta, There's brainwaves. And that's really specifically what I work with a lot. But what happens is we're in work mode. Then, guess what? Most of the time, we're still thinking about work. We're driving home or coming out of our office, and then we go straight to with our family or our partner or whoever, right? And then guess what? We do the same thing again the next day, same thing again the next day, same thing again the next day. And we wonder why we're not present with whoever we're around. We're thinking about tomorrow, yesterday, or what we've got to do. We wonder why we get into arguments. We wonder why we can be intense or aggressive, right? We wonder, right? Well, it's not really wondering. It's because that state or that version of you starts to get wired to your home life. This is anchoring, connecting, right? So what happens is you only have to start thinking about your home life to start feeling stressed. This becomes a constant pattern of entrepreneurs. So when we start to understand we can change these states, then that means now we're suddenly in a home version of us. It means we can close the chapter for the day. And it doesn't matter what level you're playing at in business. I see this with people running $300 million businesses. It's the same thing, right? They're constantly switched on. It never stops, right? And I remember having a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually, their partner was there as well, the girlfriend. And the girlfriend just literally, I was talking about this, and they sat back and were just like in the background, and they were like, just nodding at me, like, so they couldn't see. It's like, yeah. It's like, so how we do that?
My wife would be nodding probably right now a little bit.
Yeah, we all of our partners are, right? They're always right as well, these women. I don't know what it's about.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, check out one of these other clips for all the latest tips and insights. We'll see you next time.